Yeah. Thank you everyone for coming this evening, and thank you to the people who are coming on Zoom and the public that we have up there on Zoom as well. Thank you very much for coming. This is the Planning and Parks Committee meeting for Tuesday, January the 27th, 5:30 to 7:30. And we have 10 items ready for action this evening. And we need to take roll call.
Chair Delani is absent. Acting Chair McCutcheon.
Here.
Councilmember Roblesky.
Here.
Councilmember Dodwell.
Here.
Councilmember Rainbow. Councilmember France.
Present.
Councilmember Rottenberg.
Here.
Councilmember Trottier. Have four.
And the next item is approval of the minutes from the committee's meeting on Tuesday, December 16th, 2025. Do I hear a motion to approve? Ms. Dodwell and Ms. Rottenberg, seconds. And do we have anybody online that would like to speak? Oh, I'm so sorry. Zipping right through. All those in favor of approving the minutes? Anyone opposed? Anyone abstains? Minutes approved. Now, do we have any public input on Zoom?
We have no one in the audience. If anybody on Zoom would like to speak during public comments, please use the raise hand feature and put each of panelists.
And then next is action items. There's planning matters that 2 items are ready for consideration. First one, strategic review and modernization of advisory bodies reporting to the committees, all wards. Joe, presenting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, members of the committee called this particular item last year. Actually, was an item on the Administration Public Works Committee's agenda first. The intent of the discussion there is to look at the number of boards, commissions, ad hoc groups, committees, subcommittees, task forces, etc., that we have in the city of Auburn, and kind of take basically a hard look at which ones we must have, which ones we should have, and those that we should look at in terms of not necessarily eliminating, but just setting schedules that we're friendly toward our viewers' time, residents' time, and staff. So this again began elsewhere, and Mr. Lee has been integral in that, providing or being at admin, education, public works, and then creating the food that's provided for them. There was a format that was developed on this table. It's with a toe, and I can build in the one for the part in the part. And with that, Mr. Lee is available. And that's kind of how they retrieve the table, the administration and public works.
Sorry about that. Thanks, Joe. And did want to just give a quick note that the audio isn't coming through all too well, but I did hear a good portion of that. And I just wanted to give a summary of where the Administration and Public Works Committee had left this. Melanie, are we live still? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the Administration and Public Works Committee recently reviewed this, and one item that's not included in the spreadsheet today was the average that we took. And one item to consider is that city council meetings take a deliberate amount of time, which is kind of held separately. But when looking at all of the meetings holistically, we found that it took anywhere between about 16 hours of staff time on the lower end for one of our traditional meetings, all the way up to above 30 hours for meetings like city council. And where that comes from a lot of the times is also preparatory time for the agenda and minute taking, but also just if you have 5 staff members at a meeting, it's a 2-hour meeting, it quickly multiplies. So there is some amplifiers there, but the Administration and Public Works Committee, after receiving all the background information on each committee, why it was established, etc., had determined that they, not being a part of some of those committees, but more so just getting summary reports about what is going on in them at the council, but also at relevant committee meetings, they had approved a motion for staff to go back and rank each of the different commissions, boards, committees in a tiered system. And the tiered system would somehow work as like a tier one would be absolutely must retain, something like the city council, where obviously it's the whole purpose of the city government is to have the city council. So you couldn't get rid of that in theory. Same with planning and zoning. Or if you want to have zoning code, you have to have a planning and zoning commission and subsequently have to have a board of an adjustment. So it's almost identifying which commissions, committees are established and would need to be required without a doubt. Doesn't matter what the decision would be. We have to have it based off the current law. And then which ones may be more supplementary in nature and might not necessarily, maybe not need as much frequency, et cetera, and have some changes maybe with how it's made up, how many actual board members there are on each board. And that's what actually leads into one of the more important items, was a discussion around term limits for appointed officials. That was a pretty big discussion item when we had the charter review back in 2017. One thing that was approved and then the voters passed was the term limits, not only, and something that Councilmember Marshall had brought up was that it was originally intended for the elected officials, but was not to be intended for appointed officials, but there was almost kind of a loss in translation there. That said, now it is just the reality that we live with, that we have the two-term term limit for each appointed official. So the idea was possibly looking at that as well. We are going to be within the next year starting to look at the charter review again for its 10-year update. So that could be a good opportunity to slide that discussion in as well. But the idea that came from the committee meeting was that staff would go back, participating in all these meetings, would come back with a tiered analysis of tier one being most important and legally really can't change it. Tier two being, recommended to keep, obviously not really recommending any changes, and very critical to functions and operations, where there would be some ability for the council to make some adjustments if necessary. But also all of these, we have the legal basis and the formation and the rules and regulations that govern each board included in the spreadsheet. One thing we could also include is just what it would take to make changes, but we wanted to make sure the committee had time to provide input and feedback, both the Administration Public Works Committee and the Planning and Parks Committee, prior to us really getting carried away here. So tonight we have the completed spreadsheet. The one thing that's not listed is the hours that each meeting takes, but the idea would be to come back with a tiered assignment of 1, 2, or 3 to each, and then the council, the two committees as a whole, could give direction to staff as to whether we actually are going to make changes here. And then from there, a path forward would be presented both with the city attorney and then Department of Planning and Parks and the Department of Administration. The department's available for any questions. That was more of a summary recap of what was presented and decided upon at the Administration and Public Works Committee. But if there's feedback tonight, as we go into these final recommendations before coming back, we'd be very open to hearing that tonight. And if Joe wants to add anything else, more than welcome to invite that as well. But overall, it's to come back with tier and recommendation on what changes are to be made. Thank you.
In reviewing things and Thomas's overview just now, I guess I'm looking at all of these different committees, and if we categorize them, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm looking at the landscape and planting guide committee, the all-inclusive playground committee, and the ad hoc building committee. Those are just a short-term set of committees, right? That should be finishing up their work this year. So we don't really have to worry about those. Obviously, in future years, there may be another project that the city has to take on. Is that correct?
So
That is correct.
Okay. And then the other thing I was looking at was, is there any reason why we couldn't combine architectural review and public safety? Just a thought. there may be too many differences there, but if you wanted to reduce the money.
That was something that was also brought up at the Administration and Public Works Committee as to whether that is there some overlapping responsibilities there, and that's actually a great point to bring up. Is that the primary purpose of this whole exercise is to really identify where we might have two different committees kind of functioning in tandem and reviewing similar items, maybe in a different capacity. The idea would be to identify those similarities and possibly, kind of cut out the end of the entity that doesn't actually act on it, maybe just providing advisory information to it. So that it's a great point, and something we could definitely include. And that was already mentioned too for Board of Public Safety. So definitely something we'll be looking at when we're making these recommendations and tearing it out.
At the architectural review committee, how many times do we use them? So I'm saying that because I don't think we have a lot to read.
Well, actually, we kind of hit a spur, actually, almost every month, due to the fact we have so much to go.
Okay. But there's not a template for all that, where they can look at it and say, hey, to take that one and determine if they need the code requirement.
I think we'll be on council, but there has been ordinance approved by city council that going to change the architectural review board. Then that we have 3 members versus the 5 we have now. All of the decisions.
I would like to see as many be combined or eliminated, real committee. Now they need a building committee on that. Here. I could stick it in there. There's a lot of things we should combine. Katie is suggesting, Board of Public Safety, do we get a lot of complaints? Is that a busy board?
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. At the Board of Public Safety, there's really 3 principal components that are covered within the city charter for what's purposes, the city code, sorry, not charter. And one is overseeing the police services contract or an individual police department, which we do not have. So its responsibility is overseeing that contract. The other is providing input and deliberation from a safety standpoint for incoming developments. So kind of as a advisory group to the Planning and Zoning Commission and the full city council in that regard. And then the last component is really providing input on all general safety matters, which in function would be relegated to our traffic code. So a lot of the time, what we're looking at the Board of Public Safety is when a resident would come in and request that some signage be placed on their street. Maybe it's the Keep Kids Alive Drive 25, or maybe there's a request to add a lot of the flashing beacon crosswalk signals were brought up at Board of Public Safety and then carried forward. And a lot of the times it is a little bit more monotonous, but it really just comes down to any kind of complaint that comes in that would require substantial investment or a change to the traffic code. Typically, it would originate at Board of Public Safety and then go forward. That's what we typically see.
Okay, here's my comments. Police contract usually is your responsibility. Negotiate that, Tom, is that?
Could you repeat that, Mr. Krantz? Sorry, you're cutting out a little bit on
Who negotiates the police contract? It's not the Board of Public Safety.
Yeah, yes, it is overseen there, but overall, the police contract.
I've been on the Board of Public Safety, and we never talked about them. Sorry, I always saw this.
Yes, so each year during budgeting, that the police services, the police operating budget does go through Board of Public Safety, but then subsequently has to be approved by the city council. So it's just a larger piece, but the Board of Public Safety doesn't look at the public works budget, anything along those lines. They're only focusing on the operational police budget.
As far as safety goes, we all get complaints as council members, it's unsafe. What I'm just trying to do is if there's things we can combine or eliminate, let's work on that. Some of this is, tradition, or it's, it seems like we've got a lot here. Board of Adjustment, now that could be planning and zoning as well, right? Or is that?
I'll let Joe speak to that, but I think legally we have to have that if we're gonna have a planning, if we're gonna have to.
How many times did you meet on that? It says,
Lots of them,
okay, you got a full platter.
yes, sir, and. yeah. So. Just.
I'm just giving my 3 cents here. And, certainly comply with the recommendation though. I think if you can eliminate as many people are, and, buying the ones that can't, I'm all for that, so.
I've been listening to city council subcommittee meetings for 4 years now. And I see different committees talking about the same subject and going different directions. And if there's an effort to consolidate, I think it would help global view, because I think staff ends up trying to rein in sometimes the differing opinions of the subcommittees so that we can try and bring it all together for decision making. So I think there is some interest from my view of seeing if we can consolidate, so we're not repeating work and going different directions on the same thing.
Somebody can explain to me how combining the safety committee and the architecture committee would fit together, because in my head, I don't think it fits together.
Well, certainly we can take a look at it with the Stockholm suggestion. There may be an opportunity to come out, given that what we've done with the membership, so to speak. As part of it, the ordinance says if we can find a resident that's an architect, we can hire an outside, that is an architect to participate.
It's just an expense to the city.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I think ARB will be one of the things that Melanie, Tom, and I look at real quickly. I don't know where it might end up going, but certainly it would change.
Did we not at one point have a discussion a couple of years back about taking architectural review and board of adjustment and putting them into the same group?
Board of Adjustment, the parameters of its authority and role is set by state statute,
Okay,
and it's really very limited to zoning ordinance and considering a labor to the variance, based upon practical difficulty or hardship. So probably isn't a lot, but
okay,
and then there's like the development and zoning. Have 5 members. 3 of them are on the P and C. The mayor, the council liaison on the P and C, and the chair. 2 that generally aren't. And they get the ward representatives for that. Board. Sometimes we only have 4 members, but I think it's. Council liaison for the commission, so maybe there's an opportunity there. I don't know. But we can look at all of those things.
although we put that review committee together to be able to look at what the developers are bringing in sooner and not have some of the contention at the council meetings or the P and Z meetings with a developer that comes in after they've expended dollars to put together their development designs and then pick at it and.
There's value to the project.
Oh, and it's worked extremely well in some instances. Obviously, like the ranch property across from the crazy Cherry Hill. We've had some crazy proposals. The developers on the review committees stop them for going forward, giving them good advice about what they should. So,
Yeah.
I see real value. It's just.
You know, it's looking, there's no value to the process.
There's, from the perspective, the only thing I would caution is, I think the strength of our process is that I think that's the plan up there. What they. Foreign citizen communities that help us. They're temporary. They do take time, but I think they bring a perspective that yes. That's it, okay. And most of them are temporary. Once the plans updated, or like you said, once the landscape man is done. it's going away. So,
Well, plus they've been a good source for future permanent or more permanent individuals to participate in city governments. And city council or some of the planning and zoning. Yeah,
Here's your chance now.
What about the ARB being part of the, planning and zoning commission?
Take those counties to do commission was their ARB. A lot of it fell on to staff there to basically kind of frame the issues, give that direction. Manchester and Town and Country, what do they do?
Manchester, they use their planning and zoning commission for review. Town and Country had a very active architecture review board that was all architects on, and some of our most exciting meetings. But I'm pretty sure they've had an architecture review board. I don't remember exactly. Been a while.
Yeah, and there was some discussion a few years ago about, just eliminating the architectural review board. The council voted it down, but there was some discussion on that, so. Yeah, I've sat on that board. I think it, I think it helps. So that when the project doesn't absolutely, it's all done and we don't go, "Oh," because, it's not the standard height or it's not, colors or whatever that. So I think it's very helpful. And then they'll talk about, like how high a subdivision sign should be and what should be on that so that it's uniform. So I think it's beneficial. I think it's helpful. But again, where do you put it?
or would that take too much time of the planning and zoning commission to have a segment of their meeting be, let's review each of these requests.
Very good point. But like Tom mentioned, state the hardest of this. When we sit back down and staff.
I'm gonna mute.
Any other comments?
What do you need from us?
I think we're
Yeah, you cut out there for a second. What was that? Could you repeat that, Ms. McCutcheon?
What do you need from us?
I think I heard what do you got, what we need from you. And tonight we were just saying that we're kind of accepting the background information or in correspondence with the motion from the Administration and Public Works Committee, which would be for us staff to come back and tier each of these and then give an explanation if there is one that we would like to keep that's a lower tier, why we would want to keep that.
Deb's asking, what you mean by the tiers? Can you define the level?
Yes. Yeah, so tier one would be legally, there's not much we could do, even if the council was fully endorsing a removal or a change to a commission or a committee. There's not much we can do because it's either established by charter or it's established by a state statute, which a good example would be like planning and zoning. Since we have zoning and land use code, we have to oblige, and we also have to have a board of adjustment. Those are very easy ones to comprehend. Tier two would be ones that changes could be made. It would need some significant changes to the code, would have some other layers, and some other committee would have to take up responsibility for it. But in theory, if the council wanted to remove it, they could. And then tier three would be not established per city code or ordinance, and overall could be changed and modified by simple legislation or motion from the city council.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions on this item?
Look forward to hearing what you guys discuss.
Recent development trends within the city of Wildwood, including new fee for authorizations. And just department, so say you, Joe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair and members of the committee, as you know, this is a monthly report that we provide. If there are any questions regarding any of the items associated with the development trends, making those that are associated with a particular project. We're going to do our best. I would note that the $50 fee that we proposed at the start of last year, it would be $642,000. That means about 854 authorizations issued by the city of Wildwood for the nature project. Several years. Down to 70 places in that.
All these people pay $50 for the work. All right.
Okay,
Can we give them just a quick overview of the Via Bella development and also the Latitude in 38 project for request?
I'll start with the latter. In December of last year, the matter was scheduled for the planning and zoning commission. The department had prepared a recommendation report. Mr. Boswell, one of the principals in the company, his mother was ill, so he had to return home, left the country, and so there was a request to postpone. This past January, this year, we had it scheduled for the 20th. We had a meeting prior to that with the planning and zoning commission. They have another revised plan, which really wasn't the department. We met on a Tuesday and we had a meeting a week later, so we postponed. And it got us in contact with us to the county representing the and we postponed it to February. So we're looking at March. Commission meeting. The revised plan, I'm still working. They've altered the access to the site. There's still no improvements on the street, so there's hurdles still out there. You just can't see the concept.
Stormwater. Stormwater runoff.
In this revised plan, they pulled the riprap areas and made the pipes off. With the Rosa, as you can see, we are working through almost all the climate weather. We are working on the footing foundations. We gave them a temporary footing foundation permit back in October, so they could do a jump start before weather turned. But they were up there today. Went up there on Monday, so I give them credit for being a little bit of a hard. So to be out there as it was. Tom, as he told us all, putting some foundations have to be complete by July to meet the requirements of the road crossing. They have shifted now around onto Main Street. They're doing a preliminary groundwork there for the putting the foundation. Okay. Tom, did you talk to Tom Chapin or any of the others with your road?
Yes. And they actually just shared a video that we could send out. It's a little bit of a promotional video that was shared at the business forum last week. But they do currently anticipate to meet that deadline of the July 16th, 2026 to have foundations poured. The snow and the winter weather here has kind of slowed them down a bit, but they'll be back out there in the coming weeks to keep going. Was there a specific question though, a pointed question? I wanted to make sure I had the context here. We're getting a little choppy audio feedback here.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Okay. Yeah, but overall they're on track. And they're actually originally the agreement, the development and performance agreement called for 2028 as the date at which they're supposed to be opened and finished with the project. They're now promoting that at least portions will be open by 2027. So good news on that front. It seems like they will be moving a little bit quicker than anticipated. Obviously, timelines can change, but they are putting a lot of assets towards that project right now.
Um, you have an update for us on what's happening with Westwood Acre project? Or maybe not happening?
It's the latter there.
Okay.
As you know, from the recent news articles and television, reporting, City of Chesterfield will approve 14 investment in the district of Wilton, which is about roughly half of the land area, all not exactly half. The other portion in Wildwood is still in place. So other than the development zone, that is having to five. Quickly, we had with the city of Chesterfield and the development Kirk Road is passed off. Conversation with the developer. City of Chesterfield has sent us a couple of items relative to what we can do, but I think
So Church Road is the only real entrance exit into that project, correct?
that's correct. And surprisingly, the development entity went to Monarch Fire District, back in the middle part of the last the variance to the second. Fire district granted that. The granted the provision for relating to density. Are the amount of 5 foot setback and 10 feet apart. I think it's actually 30 feet, so 15 foot setback. Fire district was granted, so that's the process. So it's on the road. Anticipated something potential.
Another question. So the next item is the Parks Matters. There's 8 of them ready for consideration, and the first one is the farmers market.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair and members of the committee. This one is always a pleasure to bring to you. It is that time of year again. The city needs to renew the farmers market manager contract for 2026. As you know, the city has hosted the farmers market Saturdays from May to October since 2009. Since 2018, Ms. Natalie McAvoy has been our market manager, and she has been also been increasingly more helpful. And she, and nothing is seems to be outside of her job, and she's just fantastic. She got us through the pandemic and managed to keep the market open through that. Started a winter market in 2021, and it was so successful. It's happened every year since. And then on top of that, she's recently started helping us out with the state relaying. Every year. In 2025, first with both the number of vendors as well as the number of attendees, being more popular. And that being said, Ms. McAvoy has agreed to be the market manager again for 2026, and at the same rate that she has been paid last year. For $18,000. And the total budget is actually $20,000 for expenses, and another is for keeping up with dues and fees for from memberships and workshops, such. So that being said, the department has been very pleased with our current market manager and would like to, keep her on again for next year, and they've, judging just her history, that it will be another successful year for the market. And tonight, we're looking for, your approval of that, and it is going to the council. Okay,
So the manager does keep the fees from the vendors.
correct.
How many vendors do we have?
Wow.
105, so well, that's fair compensation for them. And the sheet provides insurance. That's the
Mhm.
liability insurance. Just seeking clarity.
Absolutely. That, it was the department's presentation. Questions?
If you are looking for a motion for us to approve the contract, I will make that one.
All those in favor? Oh, sorry.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
First of all, to your question. Sometime in the summer, I can't remember exactly that one. We had 64 beds. But you use this plaza drive and. You're struggling to figure out what you can put in. That is just amazing. West Louis, that is the full festival, they say West Louis. Our public market.
Was it right?
So that was good. Have a conversation with everyone. So this is something that it's kind of put in on the board, actually, to see. You have to say up top. That's a guy and the visitor. Talk to her about what was and the participated in the down there. Pray that you, it's a very free, you know, so you know, so.
Even though I think it's awesome to be up there, I think I feel about it, I drive by on Saturday morning, I go, oh, but it's just kind of an automatic thing, you go, okay, let's see what's there. And we have to put it out, they give the people.
We have a motion for, correct?
When I say, you know, we have this back about, they really just talk about what the, and she's offered it for years, so.
It's been really, it's first one.
Keep interrupting.
Need a second, develop the
Yeah, she did a second, Scott did first. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passed. Our next item is our Foster Trail Resurfacing Project and city participation, Ward 6. And, Mr. Village.
Thank you. Madam Chair, and members of the committee, back in the fall. I'm super. So we. Major research. So this is. Percentage. Just to show this. So. You see. You purchase the material. Yeah.
Furthermore, they've been fair with us.
And then. Any of the things we have on the, we have to pay fees. They charge a per person fee. For things, house, things like that, we go to the, we pay for reservations. We have this, the portion from the trail when the tree goes out and the leaves are there.
They goes for, which I could go for something like that.
Certainly, sorry. It's, I didn't want to do the drivers.
Yeah.
Is the event matrix, evaluations and discussions, all warned. It's Mr. Lee and Mr. Lynch.
Mr. Lee's permission to kick it off. Again, last year, as you process, the administration and public, the, discussed ways to save money. Some of that would be to their activities, public affairs of the administration. As well as the chair of the church conversation. Chair. So, what we've done is good. I think that was the benefits of this. So the first page is either height, second, on the it was new. The Green Rock Trail Challenge. Should check. Pause. Pause. So.
looking to get the questions. It said there was 3 plus, but I couldn't tell if that was people exhibiting or people coming, people that are there. Okay, because I felt like we only have 40 people coming to this event, and we have $2,500 in sponsorship. You should be sending it somewhere else, and if it's not attendees, we have many more attendees, right? To that event?
Well, yeah, there's something last year, father, yeah, parents, kids, because we have a
It looked like we're gonna have a lot of activity for that event. Yeah, we're getting $2,500 in sponsorship, and then it's still costing us quite a bit to do it with her. You know, I saw refresh and modify, but I wasn't really understanding what that meant from your perspective on what would happen to make it successful.
snack bars, coffee. So a lot of things we purchase here, but we offer a lunch. Probably one. Food cost, food next to it. That's what we spend most of the money to get that out, but they pay what we eat. It's a, we don't break even by themselves. Say, so, all right.
Yeah, I'm a creative person myself.
As you know, it's in. You're probably responsible. You.
So, got a couple comments and a couple questions for Director Lynch. Comment regarding the tourism model. So, as Director Lynch mentioned, our partner in the past has been the Missouri Bike Federation. However, they seem to be possibly going out of existence, I think, because last year when we were trying to contact them in order to find out if they were going to be partnering with us again in 25, they were not answering the phones, period. And if we go back to the 24 event, there were some cyclists who ordered apparel that was to come from the Missouri Bike Federation, send their payment on their credit card, and the apparel was not delivered. So we think that they are basically gone. So Director Lynch and his team had to somewhat scramble in order to run the entire event themselves, including the registration process, which is not always easy to do. Director Lynch still have to contact people. So that's great. Question for you, it's a slightly unrelated, but still similar matter. There's been some talk, I don't know if it's been formalized, that for Celebrate Wildwood, we are also going to use that date as the date where we will also celebrate the 100th anniversary of Route 66, and then also the 250th anniversary of basically all in one day. So has that been formally decided? I mean, are we definitely doing that? Or is that something that a motion needs to be made somewhere along?
The Wildwood Celebration Commission has discussed all components, the annual celebration for the city, birthday of the veteran, and the anniversary of the 66. So we are planning that.
Okay.
We've had one meeting for the most part since the information, so I apologize. So we in September, right after the event, we have to budget. Recently, we found somebody. A lot of time just debriefing about the September event, that first week, probably going to our budget. We need one more time, November. Talk about just logistics, and that's where we get combined. And I will tell you, there's some discussion about what to do, some kind of one, 5 or something as part of that. Because be great to take cyclists out on Route 66 or something. So,
If possible, and so the wild, like, in addition to whatever stamp other cities have.
So, so with us basically pre-celebrations in one, if you will. The budget that we have right now was originally for Celebrate Bottom, originally in that specific event. And that budget by $100,000. So, Vicky's question about the clean air that one or two people mentioned to me based on, I guess, information about the discussion. The clean air that, what is what are the funds that we would spend on that? typically?
let's take the point there, but as I mentioned, as part of the entry, we provide a T-shirt. So that's sort of a fancy T-shirt, simple T-shirt has some kind of stars and fruit, things like that, that they can take out, put them. Let's say to the photography, and then lunch itself. We took paper, obviously. We usually probably use them, it's a little expensive, but provide the food variety, depending on quality a lot. They say offer sandwiches, so we probably the sandwich, and everything, it's all a full,
Sorry, so what do you think that?
assessment.
So, I mean, I guess what I would like to do at some point in time before it would probably be done, as an amendment to a motion to approve the event matrix. Would be to make a motion to, suspend that event for this year and reallocate the money towards the combined, celebrated Wildwood Route 66 and, 250th anniversary event. You would take that money where right now it's benefiting roughly, what is it, I guess about 40 people. And this would be for a one-day event that benefited basically everyone in the city.
And I think, we originally proposed to city council was $95,000 for Celebrate Wildwood, and then the budget process it came back down to 70, correct? So we reduced to 25,000, and while we get sponsorships, it's a little bit difficult to kind of have the type of event we would want. 70,000.
Yeah.
And Robert, revenue was happening, let's say, about 15.
Okay. Is it possible to have a plein air event surrounding Celebrate Wildwood and reduce any costs? I'm just asking if we could pick something that somebody has to draw on that same day so that we have resources. Maybe we set up a special area for them to work. And then we give them a couple of tickets and they can go get some food or drink or whatever, but they have a little bit more participation in that Celebrate Wildwood activity in addition to doing their artwork. Plus it puts some history on what we're doing here.
Right, the artists along. Oil painting and 50 years. I was thinking about entering this contest this year. And they paint outdoors.
That's why,
Yeah.
that's why he's saying, but it's.
Well, when we tried to do the art fair with Celebrate Wildwood, that never worked very well. So that'd be something similar to it. I was like, wanting to go.
And we advertised it to this artist that prior to that September date, Sunday up. Go out and photographs, something on Route 66 in Rockwood, or something that, yeah, well, it's a flagpole at school or a community college, or something like that. Submit them, let's say, 2 energy evening, really display them there and let people can these vote on. Which one do they like? What's the best picture? Things like that.
Yeah. that's
And
a good
then
idea.
it's color too, do they spell there? I mean.
Yeah, actually, here, it's, we put sale prices on it, we sell it. So
They could sell it at, if we made it where they could be a part of it, and they could sell their own and celebrate wild like the other
I
vendors.
was just thinking of, this is some historical perspective.
originally you have to do.
Yeah.
Yard in 2 weeks. And it has to be submitted to us, we have a problem, those kind of.
Mhm.
And then you as the city, or we as the city, do not have to spend resources having a specific date for that. They can choose their date that they want to go do that, correct?
Yeah, whatever in the time we select.
Yeah, you've got the 2 weeks to create your piece of artwork.
We can give them a couple of free passes
Mhm.
and then, and we still,
Bigger bar or something.
I'm sure the theater is still be willing to.
Painting the highway every day.
You're not paying.
Wait till next year, wait till next year to see.
We've got.
So they would actually get a lot more publicity for their artwork by having.
That would give them their
Yeah.
attendance to see their own, which would be
Yeah.
awesome, because we have attendance now. That would give them an automatic audience.
Yeah.
That might be a win-win.
Be beautiful.
It's a good idea.
It's just an idea.
Okay.
I'm going to think it's the one in the big, go to Big Chief. Big Chief has been there since before I was a little kid. Because we used to, try to motorcycle.
66, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Mr. Lady, you have any comments you'd like to make?
Do you need any votes?
Mr. Lee?
Thoughts on that?
Hi, everyone. I'm having a lot of trouble here, and I've been trying to ping Melanie for the last, it's been about 15 minutes or so where it's just been completely silent. Could you please repeat that? I can kind of hear from Miss Robolinski in that side of the room. For some reason, the right side of the left side of the room for you all cannot, it is not producing any volume. Can someone try to speak for me? Or Melanie, could you try to just make sure the wires are all connected?
She's doing that. Please see if I can speak louder. Can you hear this?
Yeah, I can hear that, Miss Dodwell.
We all tend to mumble in these meetings, I find. We need to have some, speaker classes for all of council. What we were just discussing is tying the plein air activity into the Celebrate Wildwood activity. And perhaps rather than us sponsor a day where we have to pay for supper and a place, we give them 2 weeks of time into August to develop their painting, their picture, whatever they're drawing, whatever they.
You cut out there. I think I'm getting this. So I heard chops of this. Sorry about that. I for some reason that popped out right at the end. I heard all the way up to combining Celebrate Wildwood with the plein air art event, giving them up to 2 weeks to be able to combine and really go out there and paint, whatever it might be, or produce their art at any time. I didn't get the
On
question.
Route 66 or the 250th anniversary in their work to tie it in, to Celebrate Wildwood.
Something.
Something patriotic or Route 66 related.
We're kind of combining 3 events into one.
I don't think that. I mean, that can be done. I will say that there will still be expenditure. Just thinking this through. I think that's a great idea if we're trying to combine 2 things at the same time. Actually, 3. I think that can achieve multiple ends. The key here, we do get a donation for the actual prizes at the end of the tunnel, so that's one which is helpful. We do have a slight fee that we pay for the judges. There is a T-shirt associated with it. Some of those things, if we can modify them and possibly do a meal ticket or something along those lines as the lunch, I think that actually could save quite a bit of expenditure. I mean, Joe, I know you run the day-to-day op on the plein air art event, but I would say doing it with a combination and maybe having a lead up of 2 weeks, that'd be helpful. The one other thing too is we do have that reception included with it where we hang the art for a couple weeks and I think this is a great asset to the city. We allow folks to come in and if they want to purchase it, they can. That said, hanging those it's another layer added too. So if there's a way, maybe we could have them displayed maybe at Celebrate Wildwood at a booth.
Yeah.
That's what
maybe
we were
that-
talking about, so
Oh,
that sell them at.
I'm coming to the same conclusion. No, that's
There
good.
would be displayed, but they could also sell
Maybe
things
think about-
to produce some income for them as a part of the process would be a win-win for everyone. And then we talked about giving them coupons for lunch.
That actually,
If you can hear me, Alta.
I can hear you now perfectly. I don't know what happened there, but it sounds a lot better.
I speak clearly, maybe. I don't know. Just kidding. This
So-
sounds better.
I think that could work very well. And as long as, I mean, operational, I can't really think of all too much. It would have to be, and this is another question I'd point to Joe a little bit here. We will be having a lot of moving parts that day because it'll be the first Celebrate Wildwood at the new facility at the Village Green. I think we'll have our sea legs under us though, just because we'll have the music on main concerts already under our belt. As long as the art pieces are being, shown and sold at the same tent that city staff are working at, we always have a staff member at that tent. And it could almost be like an exhibit or a display. As long as the weather's favorable, I'm not seeing too many issues with that.
It works.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
It actually, yeah, it works pretty well. And I think we'd have to define it. I know it's a kind of a surprise what ends up getting painted or the landscape, but kind of a teaser there of something American or Route 66 patriotic. I
That's
think
what we
we
were
could probably
talking
come up with some
about.
ideas.
That's what we were talking about. And perhaps for this particular year, you can engage some volunteer time from city council members
Absolutely.
to man said booth for a certain period of time. Lean it off into a 2-hour chunk here, there throughout the day. Because usually you guys aren't asking us to do squats, so other than wave and walk down the street. So I see
I
no
think this
reason
could
why-
be one that would be very helpful too, because we can almost have councils have like a rotation if the council would be so obliged to. Maybe that's one of the roles here is that the council's there to sell the artwork. And that's going to be also, working with some of our residents that are painting the artwork to promote their materials. So I think it's a great idea. Honestly, that would save us a decent amount of money not having multiple days associated with both the actual opening of it, where they go out and paint wherever we decide as a surprise, and then the award ceremony, and then the time in between. I think doing it all at once, and they would have to have a tight submission time though of at least 4 or 5 days prior to
We'll let
celebrating.
you work on,
But
you and Joe and
Yeah.
Melanie work on the
Send it to
logistics later.
Me and Joe to explore how we could incorporate that.
I think it could be done. And I think it will result in some savings too, combining the two. And Joe, and unless I'm missing something, I want to make sure operationally, I don't know if I missed it earlier, but if there's any feedback too from you. I think it could work. I think it's actually a great idea.
Try it.
I'm gonna give them an audience that they
We'll have
didn't have,
volunteers.
and that's part of modifying to make it,
And it's not a surprise, they'll just
One.
pick their spot ahead, take their pictures and present it that day. Yeah, that's perfect.
Jim, you
I'm
had a
sorry.
question. I didn't add up the dollar amount, but given, I took the activities that were in our packet and 1,010 hours is what it totals to do those projects.
Okay.
I don't have the dollar figure.
I kind of went through it. The total that we're talking about on all of these different ones is around $25,000 to $26,000 out of a fiscal year, which our taxpayers want to see some kind of participation in the city in various ways, and I think that's a good way to do it. Even if there's only 150 each one of these brings in different groups from the community, so it gives everybody an opportunity.
And, Joe, are you wanting us to talk about the scoring matrix or what do you want us to do with this?
The scoring matrix was provided by Mr. Farmer, the chair of the Administration Public Works Committee. That's what we use to create the matrices or the evaluations you have before you. So we've used it. It's fine unless there's a desire on the part of this committee to change it. Really, there's nothing to discuss.
Okay, does anybody have a comment?
No, I think Jim was in the process of trying to make a motion.
Yeah. that
Oh,
was two.
okay. I've got one comment. Well, we can make a motion and then I can give my contact or my
I'll make a
comment.
motion to accept the planning and parks matrix.
I'll second,
And events is,
With the one change to
Yeah,
the plan.
two.
Right.
with the one change to the
Yep.
plein air,
It's
yes.
Feasibility of moving it into Celebrate Wildwood.
any second? Vicky?
Aye.
So Mr. Krantz, did you you made the motion, correct?
I made the motion, right?
Yeah, and Vicky seconded that motion. And my one, oh, sorry, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? My one comment as I was going through this today was it's got a maximum points and it's got 10. I think somewhere in this matrix, you should have a definition of what the value of 10 is. Or, you could have, 1 to 2 and what that valuation relates to, 3 to 4, what that one relates to. Because just saying 10 points, we don't really know that that's as high as you can go, but we don't know if it might warrant less points. But there's only room for 10. So I think that would give you a better idea of what actually you're looking at, how you're judging what you're looking at.
The
So
list of the maximum points, that's not what they,
I know, that's what I'm saying. We need to know what, if they get 8 points, what does that mean? And if they get 4 points, what does that mean? And if they get the 10 points, then what does that mean? I mean, you don't really have defined, you've just got, they have a maximum of 10 points, but if you don't think they should get 10, then what do they get and what does that mean? That's my only suggestion.
I guess it's what you like. Yeah.
I just think it,
Points, I don't know points either. I don't.
yeah, that's just it, but don't know what that 10 points means really. And then you may not want to give them 10 points. You only may want to give them 5 and then what does that mean? So I think you should have, break down more of a list, what those points under 10 are. And what does that mean? Instead of just having a 10 there.
I just think it might be a little bit difficult on some, because if it's a popular event, it's like you're giving it a 10 because it's a popular event, so it's a little bit harder to define the same definition for each piece that you're judging. But I understand your interest in trying to define it.
Yeah, to define it a little bit more. So. Any other comments?
Can I ask one more question? This may not be the time, but while we're talking about Celebrate Wildwood, and I can certainly wait till the end where we talk about other matters, but there was something involved in Celebrate Wildwood that we talked about at committee that we wanted to get on the agenda today, but it didn't make it. So I wanted to try and at least share it with the group because we wanted to get your feedback tonight. If
You wait
it's
to
okay.
miscellaneous.
Yeah, I can wait.
Our next item is city recreation schedule for 2026. Is that Joe?
No, I didn't get a vote.
Madam Chair, could we have a vote on the motion that's on the floor?
You have a motion on the floor?
yeah.
To vote.
Last item.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes.
Thank you. Madam Chair and members of the committee, based upon your action just a few seconds ago, minus the plein air event, the schedule for the remaining events and activities of the year is before you now. As you may recall, in December, the department respectfully requested that the committee endorsed the first set of events, that being the scavenger hunt, which will end this Saturday, the Cabin Fever hike, which will start on Sunday, and then finally the second of the Cabin Fever hikes and the spring egg hunt. The remainder of the schedule reflects what we've just completed with the event matrix evaluations. And so tonight, the department is respectfully requesting approval of the remaining schedule of events and activities for 2026.
Katie,
I'll make said motion, except the 5-2 plein air event needs to be taken off.
second.
Second.
Vicky, second in the motion. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion passes. Village Green Phase 1, Mr. Vunich.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Madam Chair and members of the committee, this is our monthly update on Village Green Phase 1. Obviously, with the holidays and weather, things have kind of slowed down. But there is a couple of items I wanted to discuss. First, we do have a punch list now of the remaining components that need to be completed. The department has been contacting the individual subs that have worked on this to get better understanding of timing and what's outstanding from their perspective. And so I think we're in a pretty good shape once the weather kind of stabilizes to start seeing some progress out there. Also in the punch list, there's a number of warranties, booklets, permits, things along those lines that come with a project of this nature. The general contractor collects those and then provides those to the city at the end. So we have all of the information we need in terms of contacts, the warranties, things along those lines. So I know Bombshell Construction is working on those. The other item relates to two components that the department requested a change order from Bombshell Construction. The first, as you know, with the electrical situation, the area where the new switchgear was placed was not to be disturbed. And so it has been. To underground the lines, the switchgear was installed at the terminus of Main Street. Work had to be done to allow for the conduit to be installed next to Main Street up into the Village Green. Secondly, on the westernmost end of the Civic Oval, there was an area that was treed, and under the plans, those trees were to be retained. The arborist, Mike Walsh, and Keitel, our landscape architect, and Omni Tree Service did an analysis and felt that the trees were going to be damaged by the installation of the oval, and they needed to be removed. They were primarily saplings, they weren't grand trees. All the grand trees were preserved. What ended up happening, though, is we preserved the trees as the oval was installed, and now we have an uneven surface on that western edge. And that was the other component, to have Bombshell Construction come in and level that out and make it consistent with the other components of the exterior in that vicinity. We received a response for $9,350. The department didn't expect that amount. It's a little higher than I think than is reasonable. And so therefore the change order was not, change order was not what I was expecting, as I mentioned. And tonight the department is presenting it to the committee for discussion, but it would like to proceed and look at other maintenance contractors that we already have under contract with the city, such as T Hill Construction, Gailey Contracting, et cetera, and see if we can get a better price before making a decision. And what that all means is it's probably going to be delayed a little bit longer. So I wanted to advise you of that as well.
Any questions, discussion? Katie?
Was it our last meeting that we were discussing an increased unexpected cost that was coming through on this project? And I don't know that I read into your documentation here where that's sitting.
Well, as you know, near the end of last year, we received a change order that was not solicited by the city for over $350,000 relative to delays associated with the electrical undergrounding of the lines. The department brought that to the committee. The committee did not endorse it under the recommendation of the city administrator and the Department of Planning and Parks. That was submitted to city council and they concurred at the meeting under a receive and file. Bombshell Construction and the department did have a conversation, and the department asked them to provide what they believe was the bare bones that was necessary to manage the stormwater pollution prevention plan requirement. I've not seen that yet. That may be
Okay.
forthcoming.
Okay.
But again, in lieu of that, when we were doing the punch list and the walkthrough, obviously, the Main Street needed to be addressed as well as the Western Oval. That's why I solicited it.
Okay.
Vicky?
Just to be clear, so I understand. So we would be reaching out to T Hill and Gailey to complete some of the work that was not done by Bombshell at this point? Is that, am I understanding that part? I mean, there's not that much. I mean, I've walked it, put in the fountain, lights, some things that are left. Is that what you're talking about, having others involved?
Key component of this is that work at the end of Main Street wasn't on the plan set. Because if you remember, the undergrounding of the electrical lines was supposed to be in conduit that already existed, which didn't. So we had to start over, and that's when we came up with different concepts of either ductwork, installing new ductwork at double the cost, or the switchgear. So the work at the end of Main Street, there wasn't really supposed to be anything down there. It is now. And then the other, we had the trees we wanted to preserve. And so we advised Bombshell Construction per the plans not to go into that area.
Okay. Thank you.
And so the request is, let's just offer the project to other contractors, see what the price is. If Bombshell's competitive or less, then obviously that's who we would go with. So I'd hope to have something back to you in February. That's my plan.
Would you like a motion?
I think at this point, we want to see it done. I'm hoping you.
Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we get alternative bids. Thank you.
Mr. Ottenberg is seconding the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion passes.
Thank you.
So I have a question kind of related. Is the spike strip? Is that going to be taken up? What's going on with that?
Well, the spike strip was purchased by the city when we purchased the 2 lots that now form Village Green. When McBride Homes was looking at developing the north side of Crestview Drive, they had concerns about the spike strip still having an impact on access. The spike strip was created after 1965. 1965 key date, that's when the non-urban district was established, and any parcel of ground lot created had to be a minimum of 3 acres. It's an illegal subdivision. So I don't have the same concerns as the city attorney. 2 wrongs don't make a right. You can't create an illegal subdivision and expect us to honor it. We're the city. We tell you to do the subdivision according to plan. So we own it.
You know it.
And we're gonna use it. Unless you tell us differently as city council.
Okay, our next item is phase 2 of Village Green. Mr. Vunich? Is it Melanie? Sorry.
No worries, thank you. All right, Madam Chair and members of the committee, as you are aware, our fundraising committee has been kind of slow moving through the holidays due to availability of the members and such, but we met again in January. Despite being slow moving over the holidays, we have made progress. Premier Martial Arts had a fundraising event in November. In December, a local neighborhood organization had a holiday lighting event and donated over $500 in proceeds, which showed up on our envelope, like on our report this month. And in January and February, as approved by the committee last month, we partnered with Able Fables, and they have the city up on the website already. If you haven't been to it, they champion books that are focused on children with disabilities and such. And there is the Village Green Inclusive Playground. Unfortunately, as you see, we have raised $0 of 2,000. And she just kind of sets a goal, and then proceeds from the website will come to the city. So that being said, so there were some changes when the fundraising group met again. Adam, who was previously with Unlimited Play, is no longer with Unlimited Play. So Natalie McKay, the CEO for Unlimited Play, joined the group and kind of breathed new life into it and got everybody motivated. And she also has committed to playing a more active role in our fundraising efforts. So that's good. She has a lot of resources and a lot of experience that some of us are completely lacking. So at any rate, she did encourage the group to focus on a more manageable number, like the gap between where we're at and now the 1.8 million that's budgeted for 2026. And she said focus, on say $500,000 as opposed to the entirety of it to make it more manageable. So that is what the group is going with moving forward. We also discussed potential fundraising events and such, and definitely would like to do a combination event at the end of April with a Village Green grand opening. And we were thinking about doing that on the 24th, which would also coincide with Arbor Day. So we would have trees, tree giveaway like here at City Hall, and then it would be a Friday evening for the ribbon cutting, and then potentially have the ground marked off where the playground's going to go along with all the equipment. And I haven't heard back from Miss McKay. I can't do two Natalies in one night. I keep wanting to say Miss McAvoy. But I haven't heard back from Unlimited Play regarding their availability for the 24th. But that being said, part of the reason for that is to get more people aware and out there and such. However, the group also discussed having a separate kind of soiree for more focused on the larger donors and such. And so we have things kind of in conversations on the back end, and Unlimited Play has offered to lend their resources to do something along those lines, but we don't have any of that worked out, as well as potentially meeting with the builders, local builders in the area, because perhaps they would like their name on, our park and be part of the community in a very positive, a heartwarming kind of way. And the department has also talked about doing a banner, just putting something over there saying coming soon. So, because one of the biggest questions that we get is, where is this playground going? And it's hard to say, and Village Green isn't open, so we can't exactly point people in that direction yet. But we're thinking that would be helpful. In addition to that, Ms. McKay was talking about doing a potential TV interview with one of our moms, one of the families that has a really good story. I mean, she has an impactful story. And so, yeah. And so potentially something along those lines. A lot of these plans are dependent on Unlimited Play. And so we don't have anything penciled in per se for those yet. But we would like to pencil in the Village Green grand opening combination with and work on the other things in the background along the way. But this one we'd like to kind of get on the books so that we can advertise it in the Gazette, which we have to have our articles in next week, I think. So the department is looking for direction on if the committee feels like this is an appropriate time to combine, some component of the fundraising with the Village Green grand opening and shoot for Arbor Day, 24th of April. And with that, I think that that is all I have on. As far as updates, we have earned up to, I think it was just over $23,000 And we've had 6 pieces of equipment sold or sponsored. But again, we had a lot of that at the very beginning, so we've kind of hit a lull. And so we're just trying to figure out a way of getting
Holidays.
the word out there, and social media we have over 1,400 views on the story map, much less all inclusives website and such. I have no idea how many on that, but it hasn't led to a whole lot of sponsorships. And so we think that reaching out to people personally and or people that have connections and or, invite people that could potentially be larger donors to an event would be helpful as far as accumulating $500,000 in sponsorships.
Katie?
Number one,
Mhm.
let's get signage up here at the corner of Taylor and Main Street that says opening sometime, whatever date you guys want to pick, Village Green, and then
29th.
put the web address on it. And then make sure that on that website, because right now we don't really have anything that's immediately visible that says donate.
Mhm.
And if you're going to sell something, you have to make it visible to people. So we need to make adjustments on those 2 things. The only way you're going to get people to donate money is if they know about this. And reading about the Village Green where they can't really see where it's at makes it difficult at times.
That
So
was somewhat what Ms. McKay was saying, is that even if we just have a date, it gives us a reason to have a conversation with people.
yeah,
Even if it's
Yes.
just going and meeting with them personally and saying, hey, we have this really cool
Exactly.
thing going on and we're offering you the opportunity to be a part of it, And so,
exactly.
yes, agreed. And so that was kind of the whole idea behind having an event.
Okay.
But I like the signage idea, absolutely.
Yeah. You've got thousands of cars that go up and down that road every single day,
Mhm.
all of them Wildwood residents.
Sure.
Put your wonderful visual on the TV upstairs and put
Mhm.
that on the website?
Yeah.
It is.
Is it on the website?
Yeah, we have a story map as well that also has that, and then it also shows where all the pieces of equipment are, and you can actually click on the equipment and see like what great benefits
I
it
will
has.
tell you, you got to dig to find it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had a hard time.
And we need to change that with our web company and say, guys, we got to find some place that we can put that, a link to that on the homepage.
I think it is. I think it's in the news flash.
One second, I can check as we're
Is it?
talking.
Is it in the news flash now?
It
Okay,
was. I don't know if it still is, but
okay.
It
I
should
haven't
be
looked
if it's not.
for a couple of,
it's
haven't
not
looked.
anymore.
Vicky?
Just to add to what Ms. Ripto mentioned about all the activity, when we met with the committee, there were some things discussed in terms of additional activities. I think from meeting today, there's also how do we fit it into an already busy schedule and how do we make additional things happen if we want to do it? But I do think, and from my background in fundraising, you have to focus on finding the right donors for the right event, which I don't think is just one event for the grand opening of Village Green. We have to have other things. So we talked about that today a little bit based on conversations from the committee to see if we can try and incorporate that in the schedule to look at adding that, because we have to do more than just opening the Village Green and thinking people will come and
Mhm.
give money. We have to go out and focus on them. And I said, I'm willing to volunteer to do the calls and kind of like start the conversations with people to come and invite them to another special event in addition to that, as a part of this process to make that 500,000. Certainly, I think the Channel 5 connection can add to the link to say we'll get some funds, but we need to focus on some of the other activities. So I said I'm willing, it's hard for folks that work for the city to go out and do that. Because they're also approving and doing things with people, but I think I can probably add a component to the process in a neutral way, but still try and get people involved to help us in the future. You know, even having something where council members invite people they know to come and do some things around that and have a special event. So we'll see where that goes. We're hoping to try and add, talking to the mayor and adding some things to the schedule. Because I don't, you know, I want to make sure we make that 500,000 goal, and I think we need to do more.
Any other comments?
Before I forget, I just want to throw this on the table too, is, could we have a reach out to our grade schools in the area to say, would you all be willing to have a fundraiser at your grade school? Go talk to the principal and say,
We've already had some of that through
Have you?
committee
Okay.
folks,
Okay.
for Rockwood.
okay,
Doesn't mean we can't do more,
Okay.
but they've already started that process
perfect.
of talking to the schools.
One of our members works for Rockwood School District, and so
Yeah,
that's helpful.
perfect.
One's a parent, so.
Scott?
What is the construction schedule for the playground?
The engineering firm is underway, and so they're doing the preliminary work, gathering the information we have, survey, phase one plans. They're reaching out to the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District, et cetera. I hope to have something in terms of a general start, maybe a 50% sometime at the end of March. Then we start the process with the committee and council taking it through. And then if all were to go well, the contract with the engineering firm via Ideal Landscape Group has them completing their portion, which is the plan set by the end of April. So we're not bidding it because we use the sole source through Unlimited Play and Sourcewell. And then Ideal Landscape Group would take it from there.
Do we have I should know this, I don't. Don't we have like a little tabletop display example of what this playground is going to look like? It's upstairs.
Upstairs, yeah.
Would it make any sense to have that at Celebrate Wildwood,
Every
so people can see it?
I hope they'll see something more tangible like the playground.
Yeah,
No, I hear you.
goal will be done.
No, I can't guarantee that because I've made millions of excuses to this committee about phase one. But it seems like with this single bid process with Sourcewell and Unlimited Play, they've done this before, so I have confidence that once we get the plan set approved by city council and through MSD and then St. Louis County, good shape.
I just suggested it as a means to get, again, more publicity for this, which I think is sort of the jewel in the crown of our city almost.
And certainly we can, and we have in the
We
past,
have.
we had it at.
We had it all our events last year.
Oh, did we? Okay, all right.
Okay.
We had it at a table and we gave out information. I did it a couple
Okay.
times for
Upstairs,
the
but not-
concerts. I got people, we had our display and we had a little card that had the scan. So they could just scan it to donate. And there was, mixed, first of all, people didn't know where the Village Green was
No.
part of it going, it's right up here, look that way.
Yeah.
And then and it was, where is it at? I don't see it.
Mm-mm.
It's just a little out of view even from that end.
Yeah,
So we talked where it was, and then the second piece was, here's what we're doing. And a lot of people took the card and were interested in the all-inclusive playground. So feedback was positive from the people who stopped, and it was the Wildwood booth. We just had it at one end. So I manned it a few times and had a lot of people I talked to.
Could you remind us, please, were there plans to sell bricks?
Yes,
As part of the fundraising effort? Is that underway yet or?
Yes.
it's on the side.
Okay, all right.
It's a different fundraising effort. It's not part of the all-inclusive, but it is the Village Green, and so.
But any money we raise from the paver sales will go toward phase two. But because we've already, obviously, we paid for phase one, so.
And how are the sales of those pavers going so far?
I think we have about a dozen sold.
Okay. And
Kind of
are they
pricey.
different sizes?
Yes.
Okay, I'll take a look at that again.
They're a little pricey, and we said through city council how much we would make, which I think was 25%.
Yeah, 25%. Sounds right.
Are you looking for a motion, Ms. Melling?
Just as far as direction on the event for the Village Green grand opening and combination of the fundraising, yes.
So moved.
I have a second. Mr. Ottenberg? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion passed. Our next two items are just informational items. One is about the recreation programming, and the other one is about the update on facility reservations. Anybody have any question about those?
No.
So now we'll go to miscellaneous and Ms. Vicky.
One of the things that we planned to put on the agenda today was when Celebrate Wildwood met, we talked about the stage, and there was earlier plans to have a different sort of stage, but in the budget for Music on Main and for Celebrate Wildwood, they had put $14,000 in the budget to rent a stage. But it is thought that for that $14,000 or less, there's the possibility to buy a stage, which would save future years of having to rent a stage. The question is, where do we store it? But it would, in terms of having it, it would certainly, if we approved buying a stage, would save money for future years because we wouldn't have to buy it for all the Music on Main events and for Celebrate Wildwood. So it would be a future cost saving, but the interest would be for this group to approve using the $14,000 that we would normally rent and have folks look at how much it would cost to buy a stage. So we would have it ourselves and save money in the future.
Katie?
Were we not in the plans for Village Green having a permanent stage to be a phase in the future?
And that went to.
And then how many years from now would that be?
Well, as you know, we've been calculating the upper threshold of what we can spend there,
Yeah,
and that's only city funds. So if we're going to do it, we probably need to do it sooner than later as we accumulate cost.
yes.
Otherwise, we'll need to go to the voters of Wildwood. Probably have a better idea if you give me a month, kind of see where we're at in terms of the cost ratios. And I've had Ken Keitel look at it just in terms of creating a platform and some type of shade,
Yeah.
which we don't have over the stage area right now.
Mhm.
And see if we could do something, as Ms. Rablowski has said, that's permanent, it's ours, but it also serves dual purpose. When we have the furniture there, people are in the shade. When we have the concerts, we have a place for them to be.
Mhm.
Ms. and if with your permission, Chair, I just wanted to ask one clarifier as well. Ms. Rowlinski, were you referring to a permanent installation or something very similar to what we currently have?
Well-
Just purchasing the materials for that.
My understanding was that the funding for the permanent stage was no longer something that was potentially available in the future, is what I was told from other council members, that we didn't have that funding at this point because of the expenses. And it was brought up by the chair of the Celebrate Wildwood Committee. Could we look at making the purchase of a stage that could be removed? So I think that's a question for you of whether there is funding for a permanent stage, because what I heard was that we no longer had that funding, and that's why we were proposing this as a direction.
So it's at 4 so when you take into account the yearly expenditure increase that's allowed for under the charter provision, it's around 4.6 million, I believe, right now as the top threshold. I can double check to confirm that for you, but right now we're around $2 million little bit north of $2 million for phase one. We anticipate phase two being 1.8 million, which will leave us right at $4 million when you add in the Essen log cabin, which there is a debate whether or not that's its own project. It is on the Village Green property. That is where you start getting very close to that upper bumper of, can you really buy a stage if it's less than $100,000 to produce it? Yes, but if it's going to be a project that's hundreds of thousands of dollars, which depending on the stage quality and how nice of a stage we're building, we're starting to get very close to that number. I don't think anything else other than the playground, the bathroom facility could be authorized without voter approval. That would be like the last thing would be the stage.
I got a question. So, we don't have the stage because, we exceeded the number where we need voters approval. So why can't we do it in a year or two to add a stage?
In a year or two, add the stage, Mr. Krantz?
Right.
If we do that, that's where the debate can come in, because there is a currently, the city attorney has looked at this and he believes that there's enough there with the historic preservation component of the Essen log cabin. Just because it's located on the Village Green, it's more so reviewed as its own recollection effort and part of that, part of an effort to restore history and a long lost artifact in Wildwood, that it might not be included in the overall expenditure for Village Green, which is more of a park asset. There's also an argument though that it's on that property, so it should be tied into the same expenditure. The problem would be is if we pass that threshold, and it doesn't matter if we waited 10 years down the line, if it's a capital improvement to that site, then the voters would have to approve that expenditure past the threshold. So we have, I would say right now, even with the Essen log cabin included, we have enough for a small stage like the impermanent material stage that we currently use, something like that, to purchase or procure that. A permanent structure, I think, without looking at it, could be a very costly endeavor, and that's where it starts to look a little bit more it gets a lot more close to that line.
I wish I would have known about the log cabin if that was going to screw up the stage. But what you're telling me is that we cannot enhance the park after we build this park?
We can make enhancements in the sense of, normal maintenance, making sure the grass is cut, making sure that, if there's a small need, but we can't make massive, large capital improvements to it. So that would include, it would include a plethora of different things, adding, a gazebo, adding, just nice artifacts, doing a special landscaping project. If it's just landscaping to keep current form, that's different. But it really does crowd you out. We have the same issue with Community Park at this time too.
Okay, last question. So if we want to do a stage, we have to take to the voters?
Now, I think it depends on the cost. There's a good chance that we could still do the stage without taking it to the voters.
What would a good stage cost?
That was going to be my question to Mr. Vunich. I know that Ken Keitel did a
Can we
brief look
maybe
at
get
it.
some information around this for our next meeting so that we could have a more definitive discussion on what our next direction would be?
Certainly. Be glad to do it.
So you have an idea of what it costs?
Mr. Keitel didn't give me an estimate yet.
Just a range, okay.
Yep, and so if you give us till February, we can give you a better number.
And then we can put that,
Well, I think we need to buy it and get one up here. I mean, $14,000, wow.
we've been doing that for 30 years.
It's one of those things you're gonna cost you more in the end.
Well, and the other thing too would be, and I'm assuming that this would just be a structure, it would not include, we wouldn't be purchasing any of the electrical components, correct? Or we would be also be getting that's where this kind of gets into that conversation. If we're just putting up the structure, I think that we may be able to slip in right under the wire for where the cost needs to be. But if we were to build out a full-fledged stage that has all the audio equipment that goes with that, built in, and have it be waterproof, I think that's where you start getting very, very close and probably exceeding that cost. Might be easier to sell to the public though, if that is the case, making that type of investment, because it will be a benefit versus just having a structure and then still having to pay another contract for lighting and audio. Most likely we'll still need someone to do that in some capacity because that is professional lights that are done. And I don't know all too many right now that you buy it and it's set up in a way where the lighting and the audio is like a preset. It usually is done on a customized scale based off who's performing.
Well, and you wouldn't want to leave all that equipment in that location. It's gonna have to be taken down and put away when not in use, because people will be people.
That doesn't address Vicky's question.
Cases, 56,000 for a trash dumpster. What do you think the bids are gonna be?
Yeah, it's gonna keep me up at night for sure, but we'll find it out for you.
That's a good point.
It's like,
Okay, the other miscellaneous items. Mr. Ottenberg.
Just one, I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that the current music on main event, which would normally take place in July, is currently on hold, correct?
Actually, what we were thinking is doing it more of a pop-up format. So what that means is maybe not a headliner band, but a band that we all feel is maybe a group of residents, something like that. We've had that in the past. Invite food trucks to come. And then just kind of not necessarily low key, but something that just is a little less of the promotion we do and the effort we put forth. And the thought is that would be best because, as I mentioned when we were talking about Music on Main, July is probably our least attended concert because of the heat, as well as a lot of people are on vacation before the school year starts in August.
So what type of savings could we realize by doing it?
I think it could be substantial. I think the difference is between maybe 15,000 and 3,000 or 4,000.
Okay, all right. So what do you need to authorize the pop-up format?
Well, Chris and Stacy are looking into that and trying to find the selection of bands and then contacting some of the food trucks we've used in the past to see their interest. I may not have it for February, but if I can, I will.
Okay.
And one thing too with that, it's just an important component with the pop-up portion of it is as we get into the year and start having some of these events lock in, we'll be able to see how that's stacking up against our current expenditures for the events and be able to kind of take a test of it of, it's not something we've already promoted from the year start all the way through. So if it's something that doesn't necessarily come to fruition due to a budgetary shortfall, it's not going to be something that a bunch of residents are disappointed.
Well, and again, remember, the direction from city council was not necessarily just to have 3 concerts, by the elimination of the giveaways, hot dogs, chips, buns, ice cream, kettle corn. We figured we could do 4 concerts just without all of the amenities we've grown accustomed to providing. So this way, we still are doing 4, but I think we can save a lot of money on the July concert and still have a nice event.
I guess this is just a general comment that I've done. But when we were giving out the hot dogs and so on, I talked to a gentleman, longtime resident, who had a close relationship with one of the restaurant owners here in town and said that whenever we had those events where we gave out the free hot dogs, the restaurant business just plummeted because people were not going out to eat when they had free hot dogs that they could get instead. So I think there's a plus side to us eliminating the hot dogs.
Any last miscellaneous ideas, comments? No? I hear a motion to adjourn. Mr. Ottenberg, second by Mr. Franz. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion passes. We're adjourned.
Chair, good job tonight.
Thank you. Except I'm forgetting to vote.